everyone. I'm Ian Nicholas, joined by my co-host Cortland Parrott for episode 5 of the Rams Revealed podcast, where we have a terrific guest for you on this episode. It is Amy Warren, the boys volleyball coach at New Canaan High School, as well as a gym teacher over at Saxe Middle School. Miss Warren, how are you doing today, and how is quarantine so far treating you?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing pretty good. So quarantine is driving me nuts, but I'm just doing my best to try and stay active and, staying on top of my classes and of also my volleyball team through Google Classroom. So that's about it.
And also,
go ahead, Ian.
No, Cortland, you lead us off.
Please. So basically here we're going to talk about your playing career, you growing up, what life was like back then, and then kind of your career and what led to coaching. So you grew up in Yorktown, New York.
I did.
And when did you start playing volleyball? Was that just a young thing, or did you grow into it during high school? What was that young age like?
So actually, I didn't start playing volleyball until the first day of fall season of high school, freshman year. So actually, the way they did it back in the day was you had to go and get physicals taken, and the school provided it for you. And basically what I did was I showed up to the school, and I was actually toying between either volleyball or field hockey. And then on the day of my physical, I had to put it down on a sheet of paper, and I wrote volleyball and decided I was going to play volleyball. So I didn't start until literally that first day.
So were you big into the sporting community before high school, or what was your sports life like pre-high school compared to where it took you in high school and then throughout college?
So I started playing basketball actually when I was in 4th grade. Mm-hmm. That was actually my passion, because volleyball, and kind of same around us in New Canaan, it's not really that prominent as a youth sport. So I kind of picked up basketball, and that was my main thing. And then going into high school, I just loved playing sports. I knew I wanted to be a PE teacher since I was in kindergarten. Oh. So I just loved being around sports in every way. And I knew I wanted to play 3 sports. I just didn't really know what until I decided. And then I went to high school. I wound up playing volleyball, basketball, and lacrosse, and also did some track for a while too.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Interesting. And we know you're a Yankees and Rangers fan. See it all the time, as much as, me as a Red Sox fan doesn't like it. Was that just living in New York? Was your parents did your parents grow up there? Was that just the area that you were in? Or is there any influence from your parents for sports?
Oh, definitely. So it was partly because of the influence of where I grew up, obviously being in New York. I lived in New York my entire life. My parents are huge sports fans as well. They love competition. So I was raised on watching sports. My nan, my mom's mother, she was very big into playing baseball as well. And so we became kind of Yankee fans. I was a Yankee fan from birth, basically, and got really into that. Hockey, I kind of picked up, I think through some friends, like in school and stuff. And then, Rangers was kind of the team to go with because that was my hometown. So just kind of went with it.
Were there any professional athletes on the Yankees or the Rangers, or any team in period that during your high school career that you really looked up to, or anyone that really had a big performance that inspired you?
So I always say, still to this day, my idol in life is Mike Richter. He was actually a goalie for the New York Rangers. I have his jersey actually signed and hanging in my back room on the other side of the house. But so I had read an article one time in a magazine when I went to a Rangers game, and it had this whole article about Mike Richter and how just his work ethic and everything that he stands for as an athlete. And I just really admired that about him. And he's always kind of been an idol to me as far as like work ethic and just putting your best foot forward all the time and, never giving up.
Awesome.
And then after high school, you went to Keene State and you continued your volleyball career. What was that transition like? Did you struggle academically or with sports or anything like that?
So I actually went to Keene State College and was going to play basketball. And I actually was on the basketball team, and I did struggle a little bit. I found it hard being a freshman with athletics and also school. And I wound up stepping away from basketball so I could focus on my academics. And then my sophomore year of college, I actually became an RA, a resident assistant. And then in the spring, I was just missing sports way too much. And by that time, I had kind of gotten a handle on academics and what college academics are like. And I actually walked onto the volleyball team the spring season of my sophomore year. And then I played throughout the rest of college.
That's really interesting. And you're talking about academics that Cortland brought up. And I believe on that 2001, 2002 team, the team won an award at Keene State for having the highest GPA at the school, the Don Carl Award.
Yeah.
Was that something where you guys just at the beginning of the year bought in to academics, or was that something the coaches preached to stay well in the classroom? How did that really come together for the entire team to win that award?
Our coaches were always very big on academics being first and making sure that, they required you to put in a lot of time with volleyball, had practices in the morning, practices at night, practices in the middle of the day, but they always made sure that they had study sessions as a team. So we always had like required times that we had to go and do work together. So I think that kind of is what led us to having an overall good GPA as a team.
Great.
And you mentioned before that you wanted to be a PE teacher from elementary school, middle school, and then you went to Springfield College and got your physical education degree in there. Throughout the college, was there any time you're like, yeah, maybe this is not something I want to do? Were you just full on, I want to do this, or?
Full on wanted to do it. In kindergarten, I had this teacher, Mr. Robinson, was my favorite PE teacher ever, and he made me love physical education right from the start. Later in middle school, I actually wound up having his wife, Mrs. Robinson. She was my middle school PE teacher, and I just continued to love it. And I went to college, and every class I took, I just loved it more and more, and I still do to this day. So
you graduated from you went to Keene State, you got your phys ed degree, and then you got your adapted phys ed degree from Springfield. So then you come to New Canaan, I believe, in 2004 or around 2004, 2006. In that time
I think it
frame.
would have been around 2004. Yeah, 2004.
So you've been here for quite some time. So what drew you to New Canaan, and what drew you, and then after you got here, what drew you after you were a teacher into coaching the volleyball team?
So I actually went to a whole bunch of job fairs. And I actually went to Connecticut job fairs, even though I was from New York, because in New York, you needed to be a physical education teacher in New York, you have to also have your health degree. And I actually do not have the health degree as part of my resume. So I was looking at Connecticut and I met Jay Egan at a job fair. And he wound up giving me a call back a few days later. And actually, he told me in my interview, he said the reason he called me back was because he couldn't believe that somebody was that energetic all the time. And he had to see it again for himself and to see if it was actually true. And, you guys have had me as a PE teacher, so I'm kind of high energy all the time.
Totally.
So he wound up calling me back. And when I was talking to him in the interview process, it's kind of natural as a physical education teacher. Typically, you tend to also be athletic in some way and played sports. And on my resume, you could see that I had played volleyball, basketball. I had also done lacrosse. I had also did some field from track and field when I was in high school. So he saw that, and he had mentioned to me that they're always looking for coaches. And coaching is something that I have always wanted to do. That's something I've wanted to do as well since I was really little. And so I said to him right away, like, whatever you want me to coach, I'm in. I'll do it.
Great.
That's very interesting to see how, we've heard stories from we were talking to Tish a few days ago where he said kind of his relationship with Coach Melzer kind of pushed him. And it's interesting to see that you're like, oh, whatever you want to do, I'll do it. And that's kind of cool to see how, Mr. Egan kind of pushed you into that, not pushed you, but said, whatever you want to do, we'll open up. And your history of sports kind of led you to where you are today.
Yeah, he took full advantage of it. I wound up coaching 3 sports right away, and I did that for quite a few years at New Canaan. So he definitely took full advantage of my resume of my athletic background.
So the 2018 season with the boys volleyball team was your first year as the head coach, and you went 13-7. So before you were a head coach and when you got to New Canaan, tell us about how it was originally and how, some of the mentors you had coaching here, and then what got you to being a head coach.
So, I've been a JV coach for a long time. I coached JV girls volleyball for 10 years. And then I coached JV basketball for girls for a couple of years as well. I think it was like 4 years. Coached JV lacrosse at New Canaan. And I also went down to freshman to help out Coach Woods as well. And then Then it kind of just bumped down to just volleyball for girls. And then I don't know if you guys remember her or not, but Katie Bakes used to be a Spanish teacher at New Canaan High School. She was also at the middle school, maybe back when you were there, and then transitioned to the high school. Unfortunately, no longer there. But she actually contacted me and said that she wanted to start a boys volleyball program. There were two kids, Zach and Nick White, who actually went up to her and said, "We want to start a boys volleyball program." And they said they wanted her to be the coach. And so she came to me and asked if I would help out with that. So this actually would have been our 10th season as a boys volleyball program in New Canaan.
Wow.
So I learned a lot from a lot of coaches that I worked with. I worked with a lot of different levels of coaches. I've worked with college coaches coming in and coaching at the high school. That was the coach that was my predecessor, Todd Kress. He coached at Fairfield University. So I learned a lot from him. I actually coached for our rival, Darien. I coached with them for a year, and I actually learned a lot, which was a phenomenal experience because Coach LaRusso is like a god in the volleyball world. So it was a lot to learn from her, and that was really great as well. So I'd like to think that from my own playing, from my own experiences in high school and college, and all the coaches that I've worked with, I've definitely picked up things of how to work with students at that level and, athletes, and how to push them to a varsity level. I always wanted to be a varsity coach. I just kind of had to wait my turn for when the time was right.
And here it is.
Here it is.
And like you said, you started the team about 10 years ago. How is the New Canaan High School, all the boys there, how's the interest in volleyball grown over the years? And how have you kind of helped the players come in and learn and take that learning curve up and maybe be good? Like the Fishmans have come in and all three of them have been great for you. How have players like that kind of helped the program build?
So we started 10 years ago. It was definitely a different experience. It was pay to play at first. We kind of had to prove to the SEAC and the FCIAC that we were going to be an actual legitimate sport and have interest. So after the first year, that's when we were able to apply to the state to make sure that we were an official team. It was tough at first. We had some guys that we really had to prove, because I think a lot of people often think that volleyball is a girl sport, and they don't quite realize that it can be at the level, and it's a little different of a game, but that it can also be a men's sport as well. And, Coach Bakes and we pushed them hard. We really just tried to stay consistent and knew that over the time that the guys would start to take it more seriously and get more devoted to it. Being a middle school PE teacher, I'm really able to start recruiting at a young age. So when I would do my volleyball unit in class, I'm sure I talked to you guys about it at some point. I always try to, I always try to convince the boys to play volleyball up at the high school. I like to show them video of what it looks like so that they can see that this is possible for them, that a lot of these guys never played before either. So that definitely helps. The interest has grown phenomenally. Last year, we had a record-breaking number of tryouts. So we actually wound up having over 50 guys try out for our team last year. I don't know what would have happened this year, unfortunately, because of our current situation, but I'd like to hope that we would still have similar numbers. But yeah, the interest is definitely getting there. And I have to definitely give credit to my captains over the years, because my captains do a great job of going out there and trying to convince people how much fun the sport can be. And, and it's just a really good team environment, and that we really work hard and get results.
Well, that's very interesting, because you sound really similar to a quote from you back in 2018. You played Stanford. I'm pretty sure Stanford was starting to build up their program. And you said it's often that you have kids who are new to the sport of volleyball when you're coaching boys volleyball. So you're teaching all the time. Yeah. You've definitely had some players who have come in, and I don't know how much volleyball experience they had before, but last year you had Peter Herron, and who, would be coming back this year. You had Jack Richardson, and you had also Pizer as well. All of them made FCIAC teams. So tell us a little bit about just how hard it is as a coach to teach in a sport where sometimes you're getting kids who have never really played before.
So you definitely have to start from scratch. And some of the guys hate that, especially the older kids when they have started playing, in freshman or sophomore year. But the basics are always good anyway. And it's always good to get a refresher in that, which I always remind my players at the beginning of every season. Like, you just kind of got to dust the cobwebs off and really get back into it. But you definitely have to start from scratch, and you have to teach everyone from the basics. It's almost, in a way, it's almost a good thing, because we kind of get some players who really don't know what they're doing yet, so they're willing to learn. You know, I'm sure with some of those more traditional sports, and we've got great athletes in New Canaan, but I'm sure that at some point every coach can say that they've experienced a player that thinks they know better. And in a sport like volleyball, I've had my share of players like that as well, but I think we get less of that in volleyball because not as many people have ever played it before, just in PE class. And PE class and real volleyball, as far as like the high school level goes for our team, are completely different.
Yeah, totally.
And moving into more of the present and future, what were your goals for this season, and what are your goals for the program in general for the future?
So for this season, I'm really bummed, just like everybody else, that this season is not happening. We were set up to be really good this year. And, we had Peter Heron returning as our setter, being able to run that court for us. We had John Hall returning in middle for his third official season as varsity, but even he played a little bit his freshman year on varsity as well. And, we were definitely set up. We had a lot of players actually playing off season for the first time. They actually played in the winter. Wow. That's new for us. We had never had players do that before. We've had like one or two here and there, but usually a couple of years apart. And this past off season, we actually had 6 players playing off season.
Wow.
So it's really heartbreaking that we're not having this season so far. And, hopefully we can get back and have some sort of a season, but we'll have to see. But I would say that for this year, I was really looking forward to making FCIACs again. That was our goal. We definitely wanted to make a really big run in states. I mean, I could see the finals in our future for sure.
Wow.
I think we had really high hopes for it. And so it's definitely disappointing that it wasn't able to see it all the way through.
Well, you definitely were building a lot of momentum heading into this season. You won 13 games as your first year as a head coach. You went 15-5 last year. You beat Ward and FCIACs, and you also beat Rockville and State. So you got an FCIAC and a state win. So definitely, if maybe there's a season or next year, whenever you guys get the chance to get back out there, it definitely looks like you guys are going to have a great season yet again. And also, one quick thing I wanted to touch on. You're an avid dog lover. You were mentioning earlier you have 2 rescue dogs, right?
I do.
So tell us a little bit about them, because tell us about your passion for animals. And we talked a lot about your volleyball career, but talk about maybe the dogs in your life that keep you drived and happy at home.
Oh, right on cue. There you go.
I could not have drawn that up.
I think they know you're talking about him, Ian.
Yes, so.
So my 2 pups, we have actually one of them just had their 10th birthday. So yeah, I knew when I moved out of my parents' house that the first thing I wanted to get a dog, and that was a guarantee for me. And I also think that rescue is super important. A lot of these dogs don't get homes very easily. So that's something that I definitely get passionate about. I want to give these dogs a home, a loving place, and somebody that loves them and takes care of them. They're both from Texas. I actually have Mo. I got first. He just turned 10, and he was actually in a kill shelter. He was actually minutes away from being gassed. And there was a whole article on him actually. A local restaurant, the waiters and waitresses pooled their tips, and they actually went over and paid the kill shelter to take the animal, to take him out. That's and great. Then the rescue got him, and I wound up getting him a couple of days later. Great. And then Rudy, I got a couple of months later after Mo. He's 9 years old, also from Texas. His mom was actually the rescue. And then when they went to go spay her, they realized that she was pregnant, and he was 1 of 3. So they've been with me for a really long time. And, I love them. And I just think animals never let you down. They're true devotion to you. They love you unconditionally. And I'll tell you, they've been helping me through this quarantine for sure.
That's terrific. You got that support in your corner.
Yeah.
Well, any plans for a third in the future? Or
a third.
Oh,
just sticking with 2.
A big 3 or a dynamic duo? What do we have?
Yeah, I mean, to get a third dog, I would love to get one, but I can't. I live in a condo, so we're only allowed two animals at a time. But yeah, But I think I will always have dogs in my life. I can't ever picture my life without dogs in it. But, I think Mo and Rudy are going to be around for a lot longer. So I think I'm good to go for a while.
Durable. There we go.
I try to keep them in good shape. We've been going on some very long walks each day, on the nice days especially. So
great. Well, I think, I can't wait to see you again and the rest of the team. You guys have really, year 10 for the dog that you just had his birthday and year 10 for the program, would have been an awesome one. Hopefully, maybe we still get it. But regardless, whenever they're back, the boys volleyball team will be back as well. And they will be one of the best teams we have at the high school for the spring sports season. So before we go, Cortland, have anything to say before we wrap it up?
Just thank you, Miss Warren. As always, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter for any updates that we have. Maybe we'll live stream a volleyball game next year. I know I was talking to Miss Warren about this year, but
I just convinced you to do that, and then then this quarantine happened.
I might not be the tech guy, but I'll try. I'll call Cortland next year. We'll try to make it happen. We'll get his promise kept.
You guys can pull some strings for us.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, thanks again, Miss Warren, and have a good one.